Welcome everybody to a very special edition of JDM Racing today. We are at the Dutch Grand Prix, but it is also the birthdays of the D and M of JDM Racing. So happy birthday to Dylan and Mark. I hope you both had very lovely days. Joining on board in Q1 then, coming down to the back end of the second DRS straight and round the last few turns, this little tricky section. Got to get the banking right here. You can't get on this throttle too early, you can't get too greedy with it because otherwise you'll end up in the wall. We're on a green lap, so we'll see where we come out. Well, it was a big improvement, but I didn't expect it to be third quickest. So Charles Leclerc top, we are third fastest. Into Q2, and with us having plain sailed through Q1, I wasn't sure if that was just track conditions being out right at the end, or if our car is just genuinely that quick with some of the upgrades that we've put on it. But it was going to be hard to match that third place, but we're going to see when we cross the line. 8th. So that improvement, the 1 minute 13.3, was 8th, but then actually became 10th. Some of the people that went out after us went quicker. If we manage to find the pace that we had in Q1, we should be okay in Q3, but we'll have to find out. So, one really good session, one borderline session of like just scraping through. So it was, I didn't know what was going to happen in Q3, if we were going to be able to get right up the sharp end or if we were going to be fighting at the lower end of the points. But we, it felt like a pretty decent lap in this session. Coming round, there was not really much else we could do. And that decent lap turned out to be a 1 minute 12.7, which is probably quicker than we'd managed all throughout the weekend. So we get not quite onto the front row, but we do get behind the Ferraris into third and replicate what we did in Q1. So fantastic for the race on Sunday.
For years, the passionate Dutch fans have been easy to find trackside in races across Europe. Here this weekend, it's even easier to find the Dutch fans as they have a race to call their own once again. A warm welcome to all of our viewers in the Netherlands and around the globe, of course, as we get underway for the Dutch Grand Prix. Zandvoort circuit has 14 corners, 10 to the right and 4 to the left, with plenty of steep camber and elevation changes to keep our drivers on their toes throughout the 2.6-mile lap. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. An immense lap from Carlos Sainz yesterday puts him in pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Gardner, Hamilton, George Russell and Norris, Perez, Verstappen, Fernando Alonso and Esteban Ocon, Ricciardo, Zhou, Kevin Magnussen and Vettel, Albon, Stroll, Yuki Tsunoda and Mick Schumacher, Oscar Piastri, Latifi, Gasly and Valtteri Bottas begins the race from the back of the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. Natalie Pinkham joins me once again in the commentary box. It's fantastic to have you with us today. I'm curious though, how do you think the drivers stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It'll keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Right, starting the formation lap then. I mean, these Ferraris have looked super quick this weekend. I don't know how we're going to beat them off the line or even stay with them during the race, but I mean, I don't know. I don't want to count us out because I feel like sometimes we do sell ourselves short. I mean, we have qualified in front of the Mercedes. One lap pace versus race pace is completely different, we know that. But it's also unfair to compare ourselves to our teammate, because our teammate doesn't seem to have been able to get the most out of the car. So I think it's definitely going to be tricky. The Ferraris are going to be a real pain. I think the Red Bulls probably will come through as well. We've got to keep an eye out for Mercedes. But I mean, in all honesty, we're outperforming ourselves. We're really looking to take on Alpine and McLaren, more specifically Alpine. So we can finish in front of them. I think that's going to be a success for this weekend. That's what we've got to try and do. Podium would be a bonus. So a little bit of a slow reaction there. We got off the line a little bit delayed compared to the people around us, and Lewis Hamilton has managed to slide through, and we're trying to come back at him on the bank in there on the outside, but not quite enough traction to get right up on that Mercedes. But we're just going to settle in now in fourth and keep an eye out for the McLaren behind, and maybe try and make a move on Lewis in the near future. But right now, there's no damage, no banging, buffing of wheels, so we're okay. We've lost a place, but we can move forward from here. Replay of the start then. Charles Leclerc on your left, Carlos Sainz on your right on pole position. And, oh, look at that. Sainz chopping right across the left-hand side to try and shut Leclerc down. I'm not sure his team boss would be too happy about that. But he manages to keep the lead, so Carlos Sainz stays in the lead. So they remain 1-2, a strong position for Ferrari to be in at the start of the race. So skipping ahead a couple of laps, we're still trying to look down the barrel of Lewis Hamilton, but we've noticed that the softs tyres that we're on have just chewed themselves into oblivion, and we are going to need to pit for fresh medium tyres because the usefulness and the life of these softs are about to expire. I'm amazed that we've actually managed to keep as close to Hamilton as possible with the state that these tyres are in. So we reach lap 6 and get to the end of it and decide that the tyres have screamed no mas, and we have to come in and get those off and get onto some fresh mediums, in the hopes that maybe we might be able to undercut some of these guys and get out back in front of them. A 2.9 second stop, that's not the quickest, but it should keep us in contention by the time those guys have pitted a bit further down the road. So at the end of lap 7, Ferrari and Mercedes, so Leclerc and Hamilton have reacted to our pit stop, and they have decided that they do not want to get done by the undercut, as the McLaren just chops across the front of the Ferrari there. And Hamilton in that Mercedes looks extremely close now compared to when they came in the pit lane. So Hamilton's done pretty well there. Where is the JDM? Can't see us at the moment. There we are. So we've round the last corner. So we pretty much status quo. No gain there. Second, third, and fourth net. A lap later on, and race leader Carlos Sainz looking to come in as well. Does not want to equally be undercut, although I'm sure he's looked pretty strong this weekend, so I don't think there would be a risk of an undercut. But Ferrari just covering the bases, the Red Bull pulling in the background, and we'll see where Sainz comes out. I'm pretty sure he's going to slot in front of Leclerc. And that's going to be Ferrari covering off the bases. There is Leclerc in the background, just round turn one. Stuck behind the Williams of Latifi, I think. So that's a nice buffer for Sainz as he resumes in the second stint. Maintains the lead. And yes, there is the Williams. The good news for us about Latifi being in the way is that he's created a bottleneck and a DRS train as we post the fastest lap as well. So our medium tyres are getting right up to temps now, but it's brought us right back into play behind Leclerc and Hamilton, so we can attack now. So a double move, and we get past both the Mercedes and the Ferrari. The assist going to Latifi on that. I don't think we would have stood a chance otherwise. But now we can move on to Sainz.
Lost one of the gears. The transmission is significantly damaged. We're down a gear, I'm afraid.
So just as we were starting to kick on and look at possibly trying to get this race win, Sainz started pulling away a little bit, and then one of the gears in the gearbox went, and now it's going to be massively difficult for us to keep pace with these front runners. Joining Kevin Magnussen then as we come around the last couple of turns. The slipstream on the Aston Martin. And then the yellow flags, and Magnussen pulling over to the inside, and the engine lets go. So that Ferrari unit has had enough, and Magnussen's race is over. That's a shame because he had a really good one in Spa. So his momentum has been halted, and that's a real kick in the you-know-what for Haas. George Russell entering the pit lane from the lead of the race. He's gone long on those mediums and opts and elects to go onto the hard tyre, which is an interesting strat from Mercedes. Maybe they felt like the soft wasn't going to give much viability in this latter part of the race, but either way, George Russell exits the pit lane and he is right in the thick of the action there behind his teammate and the McLaren. And is he going to get out in front of that Red Bull? Yes, he does. So George Russell continues on with the hard tyre now, and the Red Bull of Perez behind. And Perez really looking to attack George Russell. Those tyres will still be cold on that Mercedes. Perez fancies his chances. Verstappen just following in their wake at his home Grand Prix. Meanwhile, back at the front, we've been managing our problems and working around the lack of fifth gear and managed to keep the gap back to Leclerc somehow, and the gears come back. Joining the race leader on the last lap, the last couple of turns, Carlos Sainz. He's been in a class of his own today, managed the gap back to Leclerc earlier on in the race and now has pulled a gap at the end and wins for Ferrari the Dutch Grand Prix, his third win of the season.
Bravo, Carlos, and thank you very much for this race.
Thank you, Ricky, for the effort you put in this year. Thank you and the team, of course, everyone.
So we cross the line, we come home second, even after the problems with the gearbox, having Leclerc breathing down our neck for the second half of the race. We get driver of the day as well, which is a nice bonus. But wow, I mean, we fell off the back of Sainz. There was no way we were going to keep pace with him throughout the duration of the race. He just looked like invincible today. Nobody could have beaten him the way he was driving. But I have to feel like Leclerc is going to be a little bit disappointed with that. I feel like he probably felt like he had the pace to be on par with his teammate and make sure that Ferrari got that 1-2, which was going to be important for them for the constructors as well. But it's Ferrari's problems are not our problems, let's put it that way. So a second place for us is amazing. I mean, we got a win earlier in the season, but that wasn't on merit really. That was due to safety car in Austria and weather, whereas this was actually on merit. We had the pace in the car. We sort of bided our time at the start of the race. We waited for opportunities to come our way, like with Latifi holding the guys up in front of us. And then we managed to maintain it. Even with that gearbox issue, we still kept up the front there. So what a fantastic result, and what a way to kick forwards in the championship. Confirmation of the race result then. Carlos Sainz wins the race, his third of the season for Ferrari. We end up being second, and also worth pointing out, Carlos Sainz smashed that fastest lap on the last lap as well as he crossed the line to win, so he gets the extra point for that. Charles Leclerc third in the other Ferrari, which, like I said, I think he's going to be a little bit disappointed about. Hamilton fourth in the Mercedes. He was right up there, challenging the Ferraris, but couldn't quite beat them today. Good points for Mercedes though. Lando Norris fifth in the McLaren, up from his starting position, and George Russell down, so they swap places. I thought George would have been a little bit more aggressive in that final stint, and I also thought Sergio Perez was going to get past, but Russell must have defended pretty well in that last bit of the race. Verstappen, I mean, 8th and behind his teammate, not great for Red Bull. I thought they would have gone better around here, but their car is not been developed that great in the second half of the season. Alonso 9th, good points for Alpine, and Ricciardo 10th, so a double points finish for McLaren, which is always good for them. Ocon couldn't quite make the points in the other Alpine. Alonso has been outperforming him all year. Sebastian Vettel not quite in the points for Aston Martin, but probably finishing higher than they would have expected. And going back down a bit more, Yuki Tsunoda, Guan Yu Zhou, again not quite getting into the points. Piastri 17th, that's a disappointment really. We're going to have to look at replacing Piastri because he's just not cutting the mustard right now. Also, I actually forgot to put the standings bit in for this video, so I will tell you, Sainz took over at the top of the Drivers' Championship, and that's about all you need to know. So all that's left to say is thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Bye!